What if I told you that 73-year-old women are having better sex than they did at 35? What if I told you that multiple studies show many women report their most fulfilling intimate lives happen after 60? You'd probably think I was lying. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to discuss. We've been sold a massive lie about sexuality after menopause. Society whispers that desire dies with estrogen, that passion is for the young, and that women over 60 should gracefully accept a life without physical intimacy. Meanwhile, there's an entire generation of women who've discovered something remarkable, that sexuality after menopause can be deeper, more authentic, and more satisfying than anything they experienced in their younger years. They're just not talking about it at dinner parties. Today, we're breaking the silence and sharing their secrets. Let me start with something that might shock you. The idea that menopause kills your sex drive permanently is not just wrong, it's destructive. Yes, hormonal changes affect your body's responses. Yes, things work differently than they did at 30, but different doesn't mean broken, and it certainly doesn't mean over. The women who thrive sexually after menopause understand something crucial. This transition isn't about losing your sexuality. It's about rediscovering it on your own terms. I want to tell you about Eleanor, a 69-year-old woman who came to me convinced her intimate life was over. She'd been married for 40 years, had always enjoyed a healthy relationship with her husband, but after menopause, everything changed. Sex became painful, desire vanished, and she felt like a stranger in her own body. "I thought this was just my new reality," she told me. "I assumed I was supposed to be grateful for all the good years and accept that this part of my life was finished." 2 years later, Eleanor describes her current intimate life as a renaissance. She didn't take hormones, didn't rely on medications, and didn't need to fundamentally change who she was. She simply learned to work with her new body instead of mourning her old one. Today, we're going to explore exactly how she, and thousands of women like her, rediscovered passion, pleasure, and connection after menopause. Before we talk about solutions, let's understand what's actually happening in your body, because knowledge is the first step to reclaiming your power. During your reproductive years, estrogen was like a background musician in your body's orchestra, quietly keeping everything in harmony. It maintained vaginal lubrication, supported blood flow to intimate areas, and influenced the brain pathways that control desire. When estrogen levels drop dramatically after menopause, it's not just about reproduction stopping, it's about your body's entire sexual response system needing to learn new rhythms. But here's what the medical textbooks don't tell you. Your body is incredibly adaptable. Yes, things work differently now, but different can mean better once you understand how to work with the changes rather than against them. Your vaginal tissues become thinner and less elastic. This is called vaginal atrophy, and it affects about 50% of postmenopausal women. Natural lubrication decreases, and arousal takes longer to develop. The clitoris may become less sensitive to light touch, but more responsive to specific types of stimulation. These changes are real, but they're not insurmountable. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument with different strings. It requires adjustment and possibly new techniques, but the music can be just as beautiful. Your brain's pleasure pathways also change after menopause. The areas that control arousal, desire, and orgasm become less responsive to the light touch and gentle stimulation that might have worked before. But research shows they often become more responsive to direct, intentional stimulation and emotional connection. Many women discover that while spontaneous desire might decrease, responsive desire, the kind that develops through touch, intimacy, and emotional connection, can actually become stronger and more reliable than it ever was before. Here's something fascinating that researchers are just beginning to understand. Many women report feeling more sexually free after menopause than they ever did before. Without the concerns about pregnancy, with children typically out of the house, and with decades of life experience behind them, many women feel permission to explore their sexuality in ways they never allowed themselves before. Dr. Barry Komisaruk, a researcher who studies sexuality and aging, found that women in their 60s and 70s often report greater sexual satisfaction than younger women, even when physical arousal takes longer. The reason? They've learned to focus on quality over quantity, on connection over performance, and on their own pleasure, rather than meeting external expectations. The biggest barrier to reclaiming your sexuality after menopause isn't physical, it's mental. We've been programmed to believe that female sexuality has an expiration date, that passion belongs to the young, and that older women who express sexual desire are somehow inappropriate. This messaging is everywhere. When was the last time you saw a romantic movie featuring a 70-year-old woman as the passionate love interest? When have you seen advertisements for lingerie featuring models over 60? Society has made sexuality after a certain age invisible, and this invisibility becomes internalized shame. Eleanor's breakthrough came when she stopped trying to recreate her 35-year-old sexual experience and started discovering what felt good in her 69-year-old body. I spent 2 years mourning what I'd lost, she told me, instead of exploring what I might gain. This shift in perspective is crucial. Sexual satisfaction after menopause isn't about returning to how things used to be. It's about discovering what pleasure and intimacy can look like now. Many women find that menopause offers unexpected sexual freedom. Without the goal-oriented sexuality of their younger years, trying to conceive, avoiding pregnancy, managing young children's schedules, many women discover they can approach intimacy from a place of pure pleasure and connection. Research shows that women who approach postmenopausal sexuality with curiosity, rather than expectation, report higher satisfaction than those who focus on what they've lost. One of the most powerful shifts women can make is moving from body criticism to body appreciation. Your 65-year-old body has carried you through decades of life, probably birthed children, survived illnesses, and accumulated the beautiful marks of a life fully lived. Women who learn to appreciate their bodies as they are now, rather than comparing them to their younger selves, consistently report better sexual experiences. This isn't about pretending you look 25. It's about recognizing the beauty and capability of your current self. Now let's get into the specific strategies that women like Eleanor use to rediscover passion and pleasure without relying on hormones or medications. Your postmenopausal body often requires more intentional, direct stimulation than before. This isn't a limitation, it's an opportunity to become more skilled and specific about what brings you pleasure. Many women discover that they need to relearn their own bodies. What felt good at 35 might not work at 65, but new types of touch and pressure might be even more satisfying. This exploration process can be incredibly empowering and intimate, whether you're doing it alone or with a partner. Rather than expecting desire to strike spontaneously, many women find success with what researchers call responsive desire, allowing arousal to build gradually through intentional intimacy. This might mean scheduling intimate time that starts with connection, conversation, and non-sexual touch, allowing desire to develop naturally. It's less spontaneous than young passion, but often more satisfying because it's more intentional and connected. Eleanor discovered that her body had developed new sensitive areas while losing sensitivity in others. I found pleasure in places I'd never explored before, she said. It was like discovering a secret room in a house I'd lived in for decades. This exploration requires patience and curiosity. Many women find that using high-quality personal massagers designed specifically for mature women can help them rediscover sensitivity and learn what their current bodies enjoy. Research consistently shows that emotional connection becomes even more important for sexual satisfaction after menopause. Women who prioritize emotional intimacy with their partners often find that physical intimacy follows naturally. This might mean having deeper conversations, sharing fears and dreams, or simply spending uninterrupted time together. For many couples, this phase of life offers the opportunity for deeper intimacy than they've ever experienced. Taking care of your overall health becomes a form of sexual self-care after menopause. Regular exercise increases blood flow to all parts of your body, including intimate areas. Stress management through meditation, yoga, or therapy can help quiet the mental chatter that interferes with pleasure. Good nutrition supports energy and overall vitality. Adequate sleep helps balance the hormones you still produce. When you feel good in your body overall, sexual pleasure becomes more accessible. If you're starting to see that reclaiming your sexuality after menopause is possible, comment "Rediscover" below. Your journey to a fulfilling intimate life doesn't have to end at menopause. Let's talk about the practical, physical challenges and how to address them without shame or embarrassment. Decreased natural lubrication is one of the most common challenges, but it's also one of the most easily addressed. High-quality, long-lasting lubricants can make intimacy comfortable and pleasurable again. The key is finding products designed specifically for mature women that provide lasting moisture without irritation. Many women also find that regular intimate activity, whether alone or with a partner, helps maintain natural lubrication over time. It's a case of use it or lose it, but in the most positive sense. Your body now requires more time to become aroused, but this can actually lead to better experiences. When you're not rushing toward a goal, you can fully experience each sensation and stage of intimacy. Many couples find that slowing down leads to more satisfying experiences for both partners. Extended foreplay isn't a necessity born of limitation. It's an opportunity for deeper connection and more intense pleasure. If you have a partner, honest communication about changes and preferences becomes essential. Many women find that menopause forces conversations about sexuality that they'd been avoiding for years, and these conversations often strengthen relationships. This might mean discussing new preferences, asking for different types of touch, or explaining changes in your body's responses. Partners who understand what's happening are usually eager to adapt and explore together. Whether you're partnered or single, rediscovering your own sexuality is crucial. Many women find that self-exploration helps them understand their changing bodies and communicate their needs more effectively. This isn't just about physical exploration, it's about reconnecting with yourself as a sexual being, understanding what brings you pleasure now, and approaching your sexuality with curiosity rather than judgment. Sometimes, working with healthcare providers who specialize in sexual health after menopause can be transformative. Pelvic floor physical therapy, counseling focused on sexuality and aging, or medical evaluation for underlying issues can all be part of reclaiming your intimate life. There's no shame in seeking professional help for sexual concerns, just as you would for any other aspect of your health. Here's what Eleanor and thousands of women like her have discovered. Sexuality after menopause isn't about recapturing youth. It's about discovering something entirely new and often more satisfying. At 69, Eleanor doesn't worry about how she looks during intimate moments or whether she's performing correctly. "I finally understand that my pleasure matters," she told me. "I'm not performing for anyone anymore. I'm experiencing for myself." This authenticity often leads to more genuine, satisfying experiences than the performance-focused sexuality of younger years. When you stop worrying about how you look and start focusing on how you feel, pleasure becomes more accessible. Without young children, demanding careers, or fertility concerns, many women find they have more time and mental space for intimacy than they've had in decades. This luxury of time allows for the slower, more intentional approach that mature bodies often prefer. For partnered women, menopause often forces relationships to evolve in positive ways. Couples who successfully navigate this transition often emerge with deeper intimacy, better communication, and more satisfying physical relationships than they had before. Single women often discover new levels of self-sufficiency and sexual empowerment after menopause. Without the biological drive to find a reproductive partner, they can explore relationships and sexuality purely for pleasure and connection. Perhaps most importantly, mature sexuality integrates decades of life experience, emotional wisdom, and self-knowledge. You know what you like, what you don't like, and what truly matters to you. This wisdom creates a foundation for intimacy that's often deeper and more satisfying than anything possible in younger years. Research supports this. Studies consistently show that while sexual frequency may decrease with age, sexual satisfaction often increases, particularly for women who approach the transition with knowledge and support. So how do you begin this journey of rediscovery? Start where you are, with what you have, and be patient with the process. Month 1. Reconnection. Begin by reconnecting with your body without any sexual goals. This might mean gentle self-massage, relaxing baths, or simply spending time appreciating your body for all it's done for you. The goal is comfort and familiarity, not arousal. Month 2. Exploration. Start exploring what feels good now. This might be different from what felt good before, and that's perfectly normal. Approach this exploration with curiosity rather than expectations. Month 3. Communication. If you have a partner, begin honest conversations about changes and desires. If you're single, this might mean reflecting on what you want from future intimate relationships. Ongoing. Integration. Integrate what you learn into your regular life. Make time for intimacy with yourself or your partner. Prioritize your sexual health as part of your overall wellness. Remember, this is a journey, not a destination. Some days will be better than others, and that's completely normal. The goal isn't to recreate your 30-year-old sexuality. It's to discover what pleasure and intimacy can look like in this phase of your life. Your sexuality didn't end with menopause. It transformed. And transformation, while challenging, can lead to something more beautiful than what came before. Eleanor's story isn't unique. Thousands of women have discovered that their most fulfilling intimate lives began after 60. They're not superhuman, they're not exceptionally lucky, and they're not using magic pills. They simply refused to accept society's narrative about aging and sexuality and chose to write their own story. You can write that story too. Your desire, your pleasure, and your intimate life matter just as much at 70 as they did at 30. Different doesn't mean diminished, and change doesn't mean ending. The women who thrive sexually after menopause understand one crucial truth. This isn't about going backward to recapture youth. It's about going forward to discover what's possible now. If this video gave you hope that your intimate life isn't over, please share it with other women who need to hear this message. Too many women are suffering in silence, believing that sexual fulfillment ends with menopause. Subscribe for more content that addresses the real experiences of women after menopause, the challenges, the triumphs, and the truths that nobody else is talking about. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this topic. Your voice and experience matter, and sharing your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear to begin her own journey of rediscovery. Remember, you deserve pleasure, connection, and intimacy at every age. Don't let anyone, including yourself, convince you otherwise.